May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our salvation. Amen. The season of Epiphany is full of mysterious, marvellous stories. Wise men travelling from far away, heavens opening, doves descending, the voice of God, water turned to wine. Each a piece in the puzzle of who Jesus is. Each another ray of light from heaven, revealing him bit by bit as the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth, radiant with the glory of the Father. Wise men whose gifts reveal him to be King and God and sacrifice. A baptism at which the Father himself declares that this is his beloved Son, pleasing to him. Water turned to wine, as we'll hear in the Eucharistic prayer later. The new creation revealed at the wedding feast. Poverty was turned to riches, sorrow into joy. Mysterious, marvellous stories that shine like jewels. A description I love of Epiphany is as a very shining season and a very adventurous one, described by Vida Dutton Scudder, an Episcopalian writer of the first half of the 20th century. And I like the word adventurous too, because above all, Epiphany invites us into the stories to adventure with their characters. All of which makes this morning's gospel story a bit disappointing. Dialogue replaces action. The only mystery and marvel is retold by John the Baptist. Jesus appears for the first time in John's gospel, but doesn't seem to have very much either to do or to say. The action, at least the surface of the narrative, is all entirely devoid of miracles, not to say prosaic. John the Baptist sees Jesus, Jesus walks by, two disciples of John's transfer their allegiance to Jesus, spend the evening with him and bring their friend to meet him. A fairly normal day in First Week. Yet it is still an Epiphany story, not just because it tells a story from the beginning of Jesus' ministry, but because it too reveals something of Jesus' glory. Because his glory is not just about the miraculous. His glory is revealed as Emmanuel, God with us, with people, in ordinary conversations and interactions that yet become extraordinary. Jesus invites Andrew and his friend to come and see. Ordinary enough words, but words that start the pattern of their lives changing forever. If we look only at this passage, their adventure is a pretty tame one, but it's only the beginning. The adventure to come is, in every possible sense, the adventure of a lifetime. Come and see is the Epiphany invitation, an invitation to see in Jesus, as a child, as an adult, as his ministry begins, the presence of God. An invitation to see, in the mysterious and marvellous and in the seemingly prosaic, the light of God. An invitation to see how shining this season is, and seeing to follow into adventure. More explicitly than any of the other Epiphany stories, this story shows us what our reaction should be to the revelation of Jesus' glory. Like Andrew and his friend, we are called to come and see. To come and see more of Jesus' glory revealed in his life and his teaching and his ministry. To come and see the glory of the Father that shines in the Son. To come and see in this shining and adventurous season a way of life that is still open to us. To come and see and not to stop there. Andrew and his friend follow Jesus. They follow that day to see where he's staying, and then they carry on following. They follow Jesus as his disciples. They follow Jesus into an unknown future. They follow Jesus to the cross. They follow Jesus because they have seen his glory, revealed in the words of John the Baptist and the invitation of Jesus himself, revealed as they come and see. They don't understand everything yet. The glory revealed is only a fraction of what is to come, but they understand enough to know that this is the adventure to which they are called, that the invitation of Jesus is an invitation from God, that all the change to come will be worthwhile. They don't know what that change will be, just as they don't yet see the whole of Jesus' glory, but as they come and see, as they follow, as their adventure begins, they do know that Jesus is worth following and worth bringing others to follow too. Henry Scott Holland, Graham's predecessor as Regius Professor of Divinity, picks up that theme of adventure in 1918. Epiphany is both the salute and the call to adventure. The wise men set forth for a king and found a child. The 12 sought for a prince and discovered a cross. It is ever so. To none is the promise ever fulfilled, not here, but no matter. The one vital need is to go on after the gleam, adventurers all. In a few minutes, we'll be commissioning Zach to take on my role for the coming 6 months as I go on maternity leave. As both of us prepare in different ways for a very different shape of our lives, I hope he is as reassured as I am to hear this as the gospel for today. A gospel that talks about being called to new things, about the way that following Jesus is a gradual unfolding of both the vision of his glory and the plans he has for his people. Like Andrew and the other disciple, like Peter, both Zach and I, like all the other clergy and people of this cathedral, are called to follow Jesus in that gradual unfolding. Sometimes change will be sudden and stark. Sometimes it will feel overwhelming. Sometimes we will be afraid that it will radically change who we are, that we are unequal to the task ahead of us. And sometimes we will rejoice at the new things to which Jesus calls us, as they reveal clearly and wonderfully what we were made to do, who we were made to be. Sometimes we will follow without knowing where or why, perhaps for years, and suddenly be dazzled by a new vision of Jesus' glory. Scott Holland's essay continues with a challenge. If only, here and there, men, sick, would break away from ordinary ways and do big and bold and rash deeds in the name and for the sake of him who made himself of no reputation and took upon him the form of a servant, what might not happen? What might not come to pass? That too is an Epiphany challenge, but I don't think the deeds need to be big, bold and rash, at least not by ordinary standards. One of the most wonderful moments of my ministry here over the last few years was when one of our volunteer cathedral guides, not here this morning, at the age of 90 decided that he was brave enough to lead the prayers on the hour from the pulpit. His face when he finished was radiant. He had heard the call of Jesus to something that might seem tiny to somebody else, but that to him was enormous. And he had responded in faith, and he was full of joy at fulfilling his call. Whatever our call is, if we follow it into adventure, what might not come to pass? In his time here, I pray that Zach may see Jesus' glory revealed in his ministry and in those with whom he serves, that he will rejoice in the ways that his ministry here allows him to be the priest he is called to be. I pray that through his ministry, all those who come to this cathedral in worship and prayer, as tourists and as pilgrims, will hear the invitation to come and see the glory of Jesus and see and hear that glory revealed. And I pray that all of us may rejoice in the things to which God calls us, however small or large, and fulfill them faithfully, following the call and example of Jesus to come and see and to follow into adventure. Amen.